Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Flight, and we're going to spend just a couple minutes here with an introduction to pricing strategy. So, one of the reasons why we want to talk about pricing, and obviously it's one of the four P's in marketing, but most importantly, the idea of pricing is really the idea of value assessment or assigning value to something that we have created. So we have the term the value proposition, and that is generally thought of as the bundle of benefits the customer views or perceives a product or a service to have. So this value proposition is something that is evaluative and kind of considered by the customer in light, though, of what they have to give up. So so what do they have to give up? Well, they have to give up their time, their opportunity. They have to give up some energy and effort to use and buy the product. They also obviously have to give up some monetary expense or cost as well, typically speaking. So we think about value then as this ratio of benefits to cost in the view or perception of the customer from their point of view. And so when we think about price, it's more in line with thinking about the value or a dollar amount we're placing on the value that we're creating. So this is one of the reasons why it's important to think about price in that context. Um, the other thing is price is a direct impact on profit. So the profit function is largely the difference between what we bring in terms of revenue and what we expend in terms of cost. So while cost obviously plays a huge role on profitability, how much we charge and how much we can charge and the price that we assign the value to the value we're creating has a key role to play in it as well. So that's important to think about moving forward. So, well, why do managers then need to evaluate pricing strategy? Why do we need to consider the approaches we're taking for price? Well, there are a lot of reasons. One of which is better informed consumers. Certainly, consumers are able to search on the internet what a good price is and a price of our competitors and what others are charging. So we need to be aware that the information asymmetry which used to exist in price, that is the idea that we as the manufacturer had more information than the consumer did, has gone away. So information asymmetry is an imbalance of information between two parties. And in this case, it used to be that the seller would have more information than the buyer. But now that gap has been narrowed quite a bit, where consumers have a lot more information available to them. Moreover, we have to be considerate and concerned about different laws and regulations that are enacted that put constraints on what we can charge and what we can't charge. This may include things like taxes or other fees that we may need to be aware of. So again, this is kind of like in a changing world as we move forward, the status quo in which we do business in doesn't necessarily stay static. We need to be aware that there are other pressures on us from a cost side that we might have to be aware of when we're pushing price. Global competition for sure. As we look at our competitive landscape and where competition is coming from, being able to manage the profit function on a cost basis internationally in terms of production is a big deal. Also, we've got exchange rate issues that we need to be concerned with. So if we have a foreign competitor who brings their product to our domestic market, we have to compete with them on price a lot of times. Other issues deal with different where the product lies oftentimes on different places on the product life cycle. So if you're in a product line where the product is reaching maturity, then there'll be slowing growth that you'll experience. And so a lot of times in more advanced markets, traditional products have fairly slow growth curves. So that's going to be something to consider as you become more competitive on price. And then also changing competitors, remember myopic and myopia, this idea that competition is pushing industries to change a lot of times in a lot of different ways. We want to be aware of that and be conscientious of this idea that new competition from substitute products and from other places, um, new entrants as well are going to be kind of pushing price and putting a lot of pressure on us to reduce or modify our pricing strategy quite a bit. So, so yeah, there's lots of reasons then why we want to consider evaluating our pricing strategy. Moreover, as I've mentioned, price directly impacts the financial performance of the firm. Generally speaking, there are a lot of different nuances and detail in a profit function, but generally speaking, what we want to do is we want to look at price. This should be the other way around. Ha, isn't that funny? Price minus cost, hopefully it's price minus cost, will give us our profit function that we can work with. So price is often part of the marketing mix, and we call it one of the 4 Ps, but it's directly impacts in an immediate way what type of profit margin we make. This is also notable that price among the 4 Ps is often the easiest and fastest and quickest to change or modify. So if you think about wanting to manipulate and change sales volume, the fastest way to do it is to lower price. You can increase advertising and you can update your products, features, and attributes, and you can modify the distribution channel that you deliver your product in, but those things take longer and they take a longer time to see their effect, but also a longer time to put into place. So certainly, price, if I want to manipulate sales quickly, either increase them or slow them down, is the fastest thing of the marketing mix elements that I can play with probably. The other issue, or lastly here, we'll think about from a marketing perspective, is that when we think about positioning and perceptual maps, in particular, and positioning our product among competitors in the eyes of the consumer. So again, think perceptual maps here. Price is almost always a piece of a perceptual map somewhere. It's almost always included in terms of how the customer makes a decision in terms of a product. And so when we position ourselves and we go through the whole segmenting, targeting, and positioning process, then price is often something that we manipulate and change and move around. Now, as we talk more about marketing and the role price plays in marketing, I want to emphasize that together we create a marketing program that includes all the different elements from a strategic perspective that we do as marketers. So we do pricing, obviously, but we also develop products. We manage our product array, our product lines. We develop a brand. We worry about things like the product benefits and things like that. So we do distribution. We do placements and such. So there are all these other marketing mix elements that we deal with, and it's important to remember that they all need to sync together. They all need to be together in terms of how they work. So price, just like these other marketing mix elements, works together in the marketing plan to to create a single message and such. So we can think about how price may be impactful for our products, our product line, and our product mix. So if we have lots of products that we offer, different variations and varieties, we worry about how we price those products within a product line. Some products within our product line will be more expensive than others. And then we worry about complements and cannibals and how the price impacts sales across our product line, and such. Moving forward, we worry about how our product is branded or how it's perceived, and how our price either maintains or supports that branding effort. So in other words, if we have a brand that's sophisticated exclusive, we need to have a price that's exclusive. We need to have a high price in that case. So that brand needs to be supported by our pricing strategy as well. Product quality, product features, product elements. Again, we want our price to reflect the appropriate level of quality. So consumers have a very, very big connection. We all do. Connection. There's a connection between price and quality. And so if we have a high quality product, we're afforded the opportunity to charge a higher price. However, if we charge a higher price, we have to make sure we have higher quality. In other words, if we can't have a poor quality product and still maintain a high price relative to our competition, that would be very inconsistent in terms of what we want to do moving forward. We also think about this in, again, place and distribution strategy. We have this idea of distribution intensity. So in other words, where you find our product, do you use a selective distribution strategy or what we call an intensive distribution strategy, which means our product is located in lots and lots of locations? If that's the case, then we need to probably use a lower price point on our particular product. And then finally, we can talk about advertising as well. Multi-channel distribution, being able to place the product in lots of locations is another thing to think about. But advertising is as well, the integration of price in terms of the type of appeals that we make to customers and so forth. So in a big picture, remember that price is part of the marketing mix, and your price needs to be supported by other marketing mix pieces, while at the same time, it needs to also reflect what we want the customer to see in terms of a positioning type of an element. So why is pricing important? What does it do for us? Why is it something that we spend a good amount of time dealing with? One of the key literature pieces with pricing has always been that it signals to the marketplace elements about our product. So it actually forms a piece of communication. I mentioned earlier that there's a strong correlation between price and quality in terms of perception. So when you set a high price, it sends a signal to the marketplace that your product's high quality. It also sends signals relative to other competitors out there. If your price is relatively higher or lower than your competition, then the customer will infer a lot of information from that bit of it, that price that you've set. So signal to buyers is certainly a big thing that we think about from a pricing perspective. Also, our relative positioning from terms of competition, as I've mentioned, we can draw ourselves closer or further away from our competitors depending on how we price. And again, because it's an important decision piece for the customer, it's also usually an access point on a perceptual map. Price is. And so when we do perceptual mapping, we map out our competitors and ourselves, and we see how close or how far away we are from them in terms of price, and then other features as well. So our competitive evaluation is certainly, and positioning is certainly a reason why we want to focus on price as a tool that we'll use moving forward. Financial performance, we mentioned that price is a part of the profit function. So for sure, we think about manipulating price, which then manipulates sales, volumes, and profit margin. And using those two ideas together, then we can better understand our profitability as a firm and how price may impact profitability overall. And then finally, the last piece is to remember that within the marketing program or marketing mix, price works with other elements. So price can provide an incentive, for instance, to distributors. It can be used as a promotional tool. It can signal quality. It can also reflect product attributes. We can use it within the product line in terms of forming a product line strategy as well. So lots of reasons why price is important within marketing, but it also, again, in a broader sense, being able to assign value to the offer that we bring to the marketplace is really a fundamental, idea of business. And so this idea of pricing transcends marketing in a lot of ways. It moves us into like operations when we think about costs, and it moves us into a lot of management issues when we think about managing our profit margin, especially relative to competition. Okay, so this has been a soft introduction, just a few ideas when we think about pricing from a strategic perspective. It's probably one of the most important features and elements that we do in marketing. Ironically, it's one of the areas that probably gets one of the least amounts of attention, in terms of marketing textbooks and coverage in class and things like that. It's very rare that you find, for instance, a pricing class. However, pricing is actually one of the most fundamental important pieces to what we do in marketing. So anyways, this has been an introduction to price strategy. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.